So right, so indeed, we are back again with the world's most doctoring doctor, answering his incredibly hard questions for the atheists. I mean anti-godists. Questions like, why would people who think that this is the only planet they've got want it to stick around? And if artificial insemination exists, that proves Jesus, right? And many other actually easy to answer questions that are just extremely dumb, but apparently not so dumb that this guy knows how to answer them himself. So yeah.
Question number 9 is, do you agree that evolutionary principles prove religion?
No. Seriously, 15 questions that we shouldn't be able to answer, and that's one of them? Damn it, man. And I thought you didn't believe in evolution, or was it didn't understand it? Probably both, since that is always the way. But fine. You know, when it comes to this level of idiotic question, there's some follow-up explanation that demonstrates how clever they think they are, whilst simultaneously proving how clever they actually aren't.
And that's the simple thing, because evolution says that traits, human traits including memory, religion.
Evolution says that traits, human traits including memory, ... religion. You know what? I'm pretty sure it doesn't say that, actually, but I'll have to check. Nope. It says that you're an idiot. I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting that either, but it tracks, not gonna lie.
The test of evolutionary success is a trait that stays with people.
So I'm not exactly sure what he's getting at when it sounds like he's saying that humans remember religions, like after they're born or some shit. When no, that's not how that works. Religions are passed down through various recorded and oral traditions. If anything, the lack of some form of default religious idea sticking with all humans shows that A, it's all about where you're brought up and by whom, and what they tell you, and B, really shows that any god that wants people to believe in him isn't trying that hard. Or at all. Sometimes it's like he doesn't even exist, I swear.
Through the advancement of man. So any trait that stays with you is evolutionarily positive and a successful trait.
No, that's not true at all. There are plenty of traits that just don't kill you hard enough for it to be gotten rid of, so they stick around. But it would still be better if they didn't. Christ, you really have no goddamn clue what evolution is or does, do you?
Religion is one of them. So you want to cancel your memory, you want to cancel perception.
Even if we ignore the fact that religions are social structures and only stick around because people keep them alive, otherwise, a bunch of religions would still be around instead of dead as shit. And we want to say that religion was a useful survival adaptation at one point, that doesn't mean that it still is. Many of the things that are now less good for humans, like the impulse towards consuming as many calories as they can get their hands on when they live in an affluent nation, that can, when not fought directly against, cause a lot of health problems. So just because religion might have been useful at one point in the past, that doesn't mean it is or will be in the future. Because again, that's not what evolution is about. Some adaptations will go away because they're no longer useful. And that's fine. That's how it works. And if you didn't know that, it still boggles the mind why you continue to talk about it.
You want to cancel foraging for food. All these are evolutionary traits which have stayed with man, including religion. So evolution actually...
Do I want to cancel foraging for food? What are you even talking about? Apart from the fact that that's an instinct and thus distinct from religions, it's also just like, yeah, if we don't need to forage, we don't do it anymore. Although, to be fair, foraging in the woods and in the supermarket is not that much different, and is often about knowledge. In one case, you know what you like, and the other, you know what can kill you. Not really the same thing. The comparison would be more like, I don't know, some fishy type instinct where you, duck under rocks when a shadow looms overhead. Yeah, if that's not useful anymore, I'm glad it's gone. That way, when I come down from the sky to squash all the humans, they won't know what to do.
Promotes religion because it stayed and helped man to survive to the point at which we are today.
I'm not going to repeat myself, but I will at least clarify one thing. What he thinks of as religion is an inclination to attribute things to supernatural forces. That's what causes religion. The evolutionary adaptation isn't religion itself. But frankly speaking, we don't need to do that anymore because we have ways of figuring out now. And no, that doesn't mean hearing a scientific term for something and then deciding it means whatever random bullshit you want it to. Okay?
The next question is, why do you sleep? Scientists just can't figure it out. Religion has its answers to it.
What? Of course we know why we sleep. It's various chemicals knocking about in the body that causes humans and basically every animal to go into a sort of neutral state. And it allows bodies to have a chance to recharge and repair and many other things that you need to function. The f*** are you even talking about? And religion has its answers? Well, whoop-de-doo. Religion has answers for many, many, many things. That doesn't stop it being wrong a staggering amount of the time. This idea that because religion has answers, that automatically gives it and the answers value is completely ludicrous, especially considering how little it actually seems to know when we do find out the real answers.
Including some form, depending where, God takes souls away and returns them when you wake up.
Oh, well, fair enough. That's an answer that's not entirely fucking stupid and should automatically be thrown in the bin. I mean, seriously, what are you, 7 years old? No, scratch that. Even a child could see how incredibly silly that idea is on the face of it. I mean, what would even be the point? To achieve what exactly? Apart from massive logistical problems. You think the postal service can't get shit done on time? Imagine if it snowed and then half a country couldn't get its souls back. Dreams? More like bloody nightmares.
So religion has its understanding of sleep, but why do you sleep?
Why do I sleep? Because it's the best part of my day. It's the bit where I don't have to talk to anyone for 18 hours. It's awesome. And I can dream my dreams of death and destruction before awakening to this barely destroyed hellhole. And then I have to stay up for 2 whole hours. Before, of course, I have my much needed mid-afternoon nap.
That's a deep question. Scientists fail to understand. There's no reason for it. You waste your time. You spend so much of your life in it. And what's the reason for it?
While scientists don't know exactly the whys and hows for a lot of things human brain related, they certainly do have some very good ideas based on research and study and understanding. Things that religions have completely failed to even come close to getting right 99.9% of the time. But even if we did actually know nothing about sleep and had no idea why it happened at all, that wouldn't suddenly make whatever asinine bullshit some fucko made up about it magically true by the power of Swiss cheese. Complete random guesses based largely on wishful thinking are no way a substitute of doing a science and figuring it out. And I'm sure one day we will know, so how about no?
Question number 11 is, why do you yawn? That's another one.
He really is a child, isn't he? Daddy, who am the sun? Why am the sky? What has either of those last 2 questions got to do with whether or not I believe there is or isn't a God? And what I was taught when I was a kid, yawning was to force people to oxygenate their blood by forcing you to do a slow, deep breath. I have no idea if that's actually true, since, again, heard it as a kid. But at the end of the day, true or not, it's an answer. And while I could go and find out what science does or doesn't say about it, that doesn't change the fact that I have an answer right there. It's like your entire premise is based on a fundamentally flawed notion of people not being able to answer something because you decided.
Question number 12 is,
Wait, I thought he was going to have more to say on that. Something like, God books say yawn because it let all the God juice into lungs. So that you can, I don't know, get a job in financing. Or at least that Cybons don't do a no. As if that means anything. And what a shock that this man might think that the God of the Gaps argument is good and worthwhile. Oh well, moving on. If we keep this up, we might be done before whiskey time. I am, of course, joking. It's always whiskey time.
It's an evolutionary question again.
I might have said this already, I don't remember. But have you considered, instead of asking atheists, who are by no means necessarily going to be evolution experts, that you ask these questions to say, I don't know, just off the top of my head, experts in evolutionary biology? Although, to be fair, there's no small chance if he did, they would likely be filthy, degenerate atheists, so I don't know what to do, really.
It's bilateralism. Human beings, you are bilateral. You have two sides.
Oh, good. I was going to respond to the first half of that and say, the hell is that? But you can clearly pronounce bilateral, which means you could certainly pronounce bilateralism. And yeah, lack of editing strikes once again with a theist dumbass. Although, and I might be misremembering this, but if I do remember rightly, there was this idea that certain groups, possibly the religious, find unbroken diatribes to be more convincing because they're often quite difficult to do, rather than having something, be good and convincing and accurate. So maybe that's why there is such an abundance of these on YouTube. Oh well, works out great for me because they are always so goddamn bad at this.
Question is, if you're developing two sides, how come both sides are harmonious, congruous, the same?
Because, right, having two things is often better than one thing. And if you have already created one thing, then creating two of them is as easy as Control-C, Control-Ving that shit. And copies of various appendages and organs is a somewhat common mutation, so for it to end up being a useful adaptation seems entirely expected.
Why don't I have a blue eye here? Can anybody who's talking strictly based on evolutionary principles explain why I don't have a square eye here? You can't develop two sides to harmonize.
Oh god, I just realized why he doesn't get this. It's the classic, how could this thing and this thing develop separately but still work together? Complete misunderstanding of how anything works. As if creatures just develop as a pile of limbs and organs and then just come together to form whatever thing for no reason. No mate, aside from the fact, again, it's simply just a copy, but even if they weren't, things that work in tandem in the body develop at the same time more or less. Because as one thing changes, so does another, and as long as those changes don't result in a non-functional entity and make it better at doing an alive, it's going to continue to do those things.
The bilateralism is something people just don't understand. So,
by people, do you mean you? Because I'm sorry to say, you don't represent even close to all people. And when it comes to people who know what the hell they're talking about, you will never, never, never speak for them. Mostly because you're big dumb.
Except you have an intelligent designer making it happen. How come you have two, identical sides?
Well, they are not actually identical for a start, and bilateralism isn't always the most efficient way to design things necessarily. I mean, humans would be so much better if they had a machine gun on one side, a toaster on the other, and a whiskey dispenser in the middle left, and mixers and ice, and what have you on the right. Clearly, incredibly poor design that they don't, and that's why they've got to go.
It doesn't make sense. I would like atheists and humanists and anti-godists to explain that.
Why? Why are you so obsessed with having people who don't need to explain a thing? Why do you need them so desperately to do so? Because even if they can't, it doesn't prove anything other than they're perfectly happy to not be able to answer it because all they are claiming is their own incredulity towards a particular claim.
Question number 13 is, why does a cock hatch in seclusion?
Oh, and now he doesn't even understand how penises work. Everyone knows cocks don't hatch. They sprout like a vine, continuing on for many, many meters away from the body. Honestly, it's more of a hassle than it's worth. But what are you going to do? Aside from string it up so you don't step on it while you're showering. Again, of course, I'm joking. I don't shower.
Crow when a hawk passes by.
Oh, you mean the bird type, not the... Oh, right, gotcha. Okay, sorry. And because instinct? Something that can be coded genetically, apparently. It's kind of cool and means that creatures can better survive if they know what to do to protect themselves or others from dangers. Don't you already know this? You were talking about how people have religious memories as your extremely inadequate understanding of the concept in relation to humans' propensity to attribute the inexplicable to things they don't understand. And that seems to be a bit hardwired. Same applies to other animals for other things. Yeah?
This is the innate, knowledge of organisms. It goes along with migration patterns, innate abilities. How does that cock know that hawk, it has to warn others that that's danger there?
It probably doesn't know that. It probably reacts to certain stimuli with a fear response that tells it danger, danger, danger. And so it calls out the danger sound that others of its kind react to with a similar fear response and run to cover or whatever it is they do. A good evolutionary adaptation for survival. Completely expected thing to do. So how does that but God though then?
How do you have that? Is that coded in your genes? Can that be coded in your genes?
Clearly. I mean, seriously, way to answer your own question there. They do it without needing to learn it. It has to be coming from somewhere. As gotcha questions go, this is weak, even for that kind of thing. Seriously, dude.
Okay. Question number 14. We have 15 questions here. The second to the last question I have here is,
I am on the goddamn edge of my seat. Mostly so when you ask it, I'll be closer to the desk I write at and I can slam my fucking head right into it. Because your questions are likely to be completely freaking asinine.
since there is absolutely no fact and no time-bound guarantee in science, can a position devoid of fact surpass other positions?
Okay, I think I know what he's trying to say here, and god damn it, he thinks that because in science they don't deal in facts per se, but largely possibilities of things being accurate, that somehow means that the answers science gives are less than. Unfortunately for him, this is not some kind of flaw in science, but its greatest asset, seeing as when you deal in facts, that means that it has to be true, or else. When if you're doing a science, you can change your understanding when you need to, because of the flexibility permitted by that way of thinking. Alright, thinking, I better define terms for the guy. Thinking is when your brain makes those loud blowhorn noises at you before you say whatever ridiculous trash falls out of your face.
And this is, in science, there's no fact. There's absolutely no fact in science. So how do you come to the table for a conversation or a discussion when you're not bringing any fact?
Yeah, I was right. This guy's so ignorant of the value of science, he thinks that they don't really do facts means that they have nothing. And yet that same know-nothing science constantly does amazing things that no one working through a purely religious framework could ever hope to achieve. So I guess the answer is because they don't need facts. They just do science.
Can you use a position where there is no fact? You have theories, you have principles. And lots of times these principles or theories get thrown out.
Yes, that's a good thing. Are you actually a fucking moron? Science changing to reflect reality because reflecting reality is useful. But God, though, never gets thrown out because it's the crux of that position. Even though time and time and time again, it's at best an unnecessary hypothesis and at most of the time completely meaningless.
Now, how do you come to the table for a conversation without a single fact and use that to oppose something else?
I don't know. How do you do it? Seeing as you seem to have come to this gunfight armed with a fucking feather duster in terms of your understanding of basically anything. And you know what's worst of all? This isn't even his last question. He said something this goddamn worthless, this agonizingly stupid, and he has the audacity to not even have finished yet.
Now, you might not be able to prove that something else is better than what you are coming to the table with, but you are coming to the table devoid of fact.
That is complete and total semantics. We would come to the table with extremely accurate explanations that describe how basically everything works, and you would come to the table with facts that are often bullshit. Yeah, I'm not that worried, asshole.
Okay. And the final question is,
well, thank God. I know he doesn't exist, but the only possible evidence for there being one and him being merciful is that this fucking video might actually end at some point. Okay, bring it on. But I warn you, if it's really stupid, I'm going to be completely unsurprised if I'm honest.
can you defend or explain or justify the placebo effect?
What? No, seriously, what? Why was this your last question? Of all fucking things. That one before, that was your mic drop moment, but this is just another question that I can answer to the best of my abilities. But you know what? I'm not gonna. Because you don't deserve another second of my time after that last travesty. Good day, sir. I hope one day you actually get a real doctorate instead of the one that's clearly written in crayon. Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the